Hi, everyone, and welcome to part one of the STEM series, where we're going to talk about technology integration in STEM. My name is Sean Abley. I'm with the Gilbert Public Schools. I'm a technology coach and have been teaching computers or computer science since 2002. Here's my contact information if you wanted to get a hold of me, my Twitter handle, and a link to my website, which we'll reference throughout this presentation as well. Our objective today is to provide grade level appropriate ideas and resources to integrate technology into STEM classes for the 2020-2021 school year and beyond. This is my warning label. There's going to be a lot of information on this slide deck. The slide deck will be available so that you'll be able to go to these links and you'll want to save this slide deck to refer to later. So many people are aware that Arizona did adopt computer science standards in October of 2018. A link to those standards is available here. And we also have educational technology standards that were adopted in 2009. The Department of Ed has just started the process of updating those standards with a tentative completion date of January of 2021. The Ed Tech standards consist of 6 different areas. The first being creativity and innovation, second, communication and collaboration, third, research and information literacy, the fourth is critical thinking, problem solving and decision making, fifth, digital citizenship, and sixth, technology operations and concepts. And what's interesting to note is many of these are already covered in your use of technology in the classrooms. The computer science standards are more science-based and consist of computing systems, networking in the internet, data analysis, algorithms and programming, and impacts of computing. And again, many of these are already covered in your everyday use of tech in your classrooms as well. Here's some ideas for integrating technology into your current classrooms. First and foremost is using technology as an extension of your core curriculum. So incorporating computers and computer concepts right into your math, ELA, science, social studies, and into that core curriculum. A lot of times this is accomplished through projects, through extension activities, enrichment, those kind of things. Another way is to create projects related to the core classes that have to do with technology. So doing slideshows, using Flipgrid, some of those things. Technology is a great option for stations and small group activities. So when you're working with a group of students, having the other students working on things in the technology that they can work through on their own. And then lastly, just making sure to address those computer science and ed tech standards. So the slideshow that I'm going to present today is going to be broken down into the different core subjects and how you can incorporate the technology into those subjects. The first one we're going to start with is science. And I put together a few links that are some of my favorites that have to do with science. The first one that I have here for you is a Google Slides interactive notebook. And really, interactive notebooks can be used in all of the disciplines. It works really well with math. It works really well with science. I have an example later for some social studies ones as well as ELA. So an interactive notebook is just like your paper and pencil notebook, but this one is digital. The advantage of using a digital notebook is that they don't get lost, they don't get left in a backpack, and if you wanted to check them, you don't have to carry them all home with you. So this is just a template. It can be adjusted to meet your needs, but what I like to do with these is assign them through a Google Classroom, so each student has their own. And then you go through, you can see that it's got a ton of different ideas. So it's got labeling, some captions, vocab, all kinds of cool things that you could do with your students. And there's a number of ways that you could use this. You could assign it out just like this, or you could assign individual slides as you see necessary. So for example, I could right click and copy this and open a new one. And simply paste it into this new slide deck. Now, you'll notice that the formatting is a little bit different in here. So in order to get that correct, this is a portrait and this one's a landscape. We can go in here and check the page settings. And change those in here. So File, Page Setup. I'm going to do this as a custom. Oops, sorry. Page Setup as a custom. I'm going to make this 8 by 10 and apply. And now it matches the other one that was there before. So you could do these on an individual level or assign out the entire template. I like to create templates for labeling. So here's another example on how to do that. This one I did again in a Google slide, and it is a heart diagram. Let me zoom in on it for you so you can see it a little bit better. And again, this could be assigned out. Students can make a copy and paste it into their interactive notebook, but they come in here and then just fill out the different answers. And what I liked about this one too is I color-coded it after I filled out the answers so that they knew the difference between veins and arteries. The links here will show you how to change the page setup of your Google Slides like I just did in that last one, and also to create a background that can't be moved. So if you noticed on this background is in here, but even when I click and drag, it can't be moved. So these links will tell you how to do those two things. So again, to change the size of your slide, File, Page Setup, I went to custom on this one, and I think actually this is probably an 8.5 by 11. So I'll just change that in here. And then it's going to look even more like the one that came from there. So now you can see that your entire slideshow is now in portrait. And then to put a picture in the background, there's a button right here that says background. And a lot of us just change the color, but there's an option here to choose image. And what I did for that one, you can upload an image if you have one. You can take a picture with your camera. I usually go to the Google image search, and I think I put in heart diagram. And then you just put that right into your presentation. And then it goes into the background where it can't be moved. So those are some things that you're able to do to create those slideshows yourself or to create those interactive things yourself. But I thought I would include those in case you weren't aware of them. The next thing I want to show you is the online periodic table and scientific calculator. But before I do this, I just found out recently that if you open the calculator on your phone and turn it sideways, it automatically turns into a scientific calculator. Go ahead and try it while I bring up this link. So I'm going to click on the online periodic table and scientific calculator. And what I like about this is when you click on the different elements, it gives all of the information about those elements. So if you're teaching chemistry, this is a great resource to be able to get to those things. But what's interesting here is it also has these different online calculators. So it has tons of different online calculators, the scientific calculator, some other calculators as well. But what I like about this is that first of all, now that we're dealing with COVID and having to sterilize and sanitize and limit the use of devices by multiple people, this makes that a lot easier. The other thing is rather than passing out calculators in school, when you give them a website, they're able to access these at home as well, where they may not be able to take those scientific calculators home with them. So I really liked that. Oops. This PBS Interactive site is a great site with tons of different simulations. And they have simulations for multiple subject areas and multiple grade levels. So if you click on the subjects, You can see that they have science, social studies, math, ELA, even health and PE, and some preschool stuff as well. I'm going to go to the science just because that's what we're talking about in this section. And then when you come here, they have different types of activities. So I chose by subject. Once you're in by subject, then you can narrow it down by grade. I'll just choose third. And then you can also narrow it down even more by type. So this has videos. If you wanted to use a station that had a video, so the students would watch a video and then do an activity. If they were in multiple stations and they watched a video in one and then did an activity in the other, you can just choose the videos to find those assignments. But they also have these interactive ones as well. So the students go to these and have interactive activities that help with their learning. So you can assign a link to these right through your Google Classroom or whatever LMS that you use. But they have tons of great ones, and you can see that it tells you grades 1 to 4, grades 2 to 8. So it breaks it down by grade level, by subject, and by lesson type. So I really love this website, especially in the K-5 classrooms where you're teaching multiple subjects to your students. And you need those activities to go along with them. So it's a great resource. This also has like lesson plans and everything that goes along with them. So I really, really like this site for a lot of different reasons. The next one, I might have to escape out of here, is Wide Open School. And this was developed by Common Sense. And what Wide Open School is, I'm going to go in as an educator, and I'm just going to choose preschool grade 5. What they have are tons of different activities separated by topic, even down to things like family services, SEL, math, social studies, tons of different categories. And then when you go into them, let's see, we're in science. But you can see that this will be good for ELA or math or all of the other ones too. They have different curriculum and programs that go along with it, tons of different supplementary resources that you can assign to your students or work with your students. That's bringing all of those science knowledge into using technology as well. They have more resources in here than you could go through in a year. So I encourage you to take a look at that Wide Open Schools. They're constantly adding new materials too. So there's tons of different things in here that you would be able to incorporate right into your classrooms right away. And then when you're within the program, you can then switch to the different ones that are available too, rather than having to go back. Close some of these. The next category we're going to talk about is technology, which happens to be one of my favorites. Like I said, I've been teaching computers since 2002. I've taught from kindergarten through 12th grade, and now I'm a technology coach for the teachers. So this is one of my favorite topics to cover is technology resources. The first one that I have up here is a tech expert job. And if you've never had a tech expert in your classroom, it's a job that you assign to the students one at a time, just like your paper passer or your line leader or your lunch counter. Have a tech expert. And I have some suggestions on this. What they basically do are they're the ones that make sure that the computers are plugged in, make sure the cart is plugged in. If they notice something wrong with the computer, they would notify you of it. And what it really does is it starts to take some of the burden of that job off of you and gives it to the students. As your comfort level is with your kids, you can also allow them to do some troubleshooting tips, just teach them how to do it. And what happens is when you first start, if you teach that first student, you identify a kid in your class that you know is kind of tech savvy, and you teach that kid. We've done this with kindergarten students all the way up through high school. So you identify that tech savvy student and you tell her, we're about to do something new in technology. I need you to pay very close attention because if anyone has questions, they're going to come to you first. So now that student is paying close attention to your lesson on the new technology you're delivering or any of those things. They've also been shown how to do some basic troubleshooting. And now the kids go to her rather than coming to you. Then in a week or two, you train another student at a different group And now you have 2 tech experts in your class. Before you know it, after 15, 20 weeks, everybody in the class is a tech expert. So this, again, it takes a lot of that burden off of you as the teacher, where you're trying to deliver lessons in technology, or you're trying to have group activities and you get disrupted by the students. When you make the tech expert a student in your class, then it kind of eliminates those problems and gives them somebody to go to before they come to you. This is a data log that I created for ELA, and it was initially created so that they could log their words per minute while they were reading, and the students get it and it's blank. So it looks like this. And then they enter their data in here. So again, I made this for ELA, but this chart could be used for anything. It could be used for math facts. It could be used for science experiments. We did it with 6th grade. I used the same one with 6th grade to log growth on the plants that they had made. So they just type in here, I'm going to go with words per minute just because it's convenient with what's written there. So the first time they had 10 words a minute, then they had 12 words a minute. Maybe they had a rough day and they had 9 words a minute, and they keep adding those in there. And then they also had to do it with the teacher. So maybe they had 9 words a minute here, 13 here. Maybe they did better with the teacher on that one. But they can look at their data and start analyzing what the results are. So they can look at those and say, well, I wonder why my time went down on that last chart. And maybe it's because they hadn't been practicing. And maybe it was lower with the teacher time because they get nervous with the teacher. Or maybe they do better with the teacher than they do by themselves because they get distracted. But they can start to look at the data that they've collected and then start to analyze it. Flipgrid is a super fun resource to do with your students. What Flipgrid is a, hang on, let me log in as an educator. Students can submit videos to respond to a question. So for example, in my sandbox, I think I have one in here. So I posted a topic that says, create a Flipgrid video explaining which 2 methods you prefer for simplifying fractions. For full credit, your video must include which method, describe the method, demonstrate, and provide an explanation as to why you didn't like the other. So what this does is it allows students to record themselves using these features. And I'm not going to be able to demonstrate it right now because I'm recording my screen, and they kind of fight with each other to do that. But basically, the students come in, they click on the plus sign, and it records them a lot like the recording systems on their phones. And then they're able to respond to each other's if you choose to let them do that. There's a lot of different settings, so the teachers have a lot of control over who sees what and who can respond to what. But you as a teacher can also go back and respond to those as well, providing immediate feedback to the students on what they've described. And a lot of kids really like this because they can verbalize something sometimes better than they can write it down or type it. So you get a good understanding of if they really know the concepts or not. These are 2 templates that I created for students to complete. The first one is just a Facebook for a famous person, and we originally created this to do presidents, but anything could be replaced in here. So this one is just for a president, and what the students do is they change the picture, they do the research on their president, enter the information, some key points that the teacher wanted to know, and then on the next slide is their friends list. So we gave them some prompts on what we meant by their friends list, the first lady and the vice president, and then they had to determine who the other 4 important people were. Next, they had to post as if they were that president and reply to that post as if they were someone else. So you can see the students really have to have an understanding of the person that they're representing, because they have to be able to post as if they were the president and respond how other people may have responded. And then there's some pictures of it for their photo page. And this just gave them a helpful tip on how to replace all of the images in here. So this one, again, was made for presidents, but this could be a famous artist. This could be for, it could be a famous scientist. You could even use this to do things like an element in chemistry, what is the element's bio, and when was it discovered, and what other elements does that element work well with, and what kind of post would that element say? And you're taking it to a really high level of thinking when you're creating a slideshow like this, because they're not just listing information that they found, they have to actually think as if they were this person. So I really liked that slideshow. The other one was an African animals template that I used with one of our special ed classes, and they were to research an African animal and then create a slideshow for it. And the teacher wanted to make sure that the students got all of the information that she was looking for, so we created a template for that. So you can see she wanted to know about habitat, so we made a slide for that. She wanted to know about diet, we made a slide for that, and what their babies were, and facts, 7 facts about that animal. So she was very specific in what she wanted, but we all know young students, as well as our high school students, are the same way. You give them the directions and they get half of it, so they can't get full credit, and you know that they had that information. So if you give them the template like that, then they're able to put that information in there. And then just some photos that they found, and again, that replace image. So these again are available on the slide deck. You can click on the link and make a copy for yourself and use it in any way that you like. Infographics are another great resource for visualizing student learning. So these can be done in Google Drawing. And I'll show you an example of one that we did in Google Drawing. If you're not familiar with the Google apps, they're really, really user-friendly. They're very easy to use. And the nice thing about them is they can be shared. They can be assigned through Google Classroom. So there's a lot of reasons why I love using Google. If you have questions about Google, my information is back on the slide deck, so you can email me anytime and I'll be happy to show you how to do some of these things. So this was one that I did with the 2nd grade class. They had to find information about an animal. I think theirs were all birds. So they had to choose a bird and then create an infographic about that bird. So this, I like Google Drawings because it has the ability to make these little squares and arrows. They can put a picture in, and these can all kind of be moved around wherever they want them. And then just a little information about that penguin. So this could be used at any grade level. This one's just basic because it was 2nd grade. Canva is a online graphic design resource. It's free. They have an upgraded version, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But anything that you really need in it is available in the free version. So what it has are all these pre-made templates for just about anything you can think of. You can see infographic, posters, resumes. They make beautiful resumes, comic strips, timelines, all kinds of different stuff. I'm just going to type in here infographic. And you can see that it brings up a number of infographics that are already pre-made. And I kind of like the layout of this one. So if I open that up, and this one is the importance of literacy. Let's say I'm doing mine on farm animals. I simply click in here and type in farm animals. And then I would locate some pictures of farm animals. So let's just say I was looking for a cow. Any pictures of cows. And I can click on this image and drop it right in. And then change the text to be the information about the cow. Make the next one about a horse. So if this one was for a horse, I can put my picture of a horse in there. And then by the time you're finished, you have this really great infographic that you can print off. You can put them on the bulletin board. You can see that you can put graphs in here and stuff too. When the principals or parents come for parent-teacher conferences, these are great things for them to see. When they're on their bulletin board, they look beautiful out there. So Canva is one of my favorites. I've done this with 4th and 5th grade students. I've not had the opportunity to do it with K3, so I'm not sure how well they would respond to it. But I do know that 4th and up does very well with these. Whoops. Common Sense Media, if you're not familiar with it, is probably one of the best resources for teaching digital citizenship. So I'm going to go to Common Sense Media, and I'm going to log in because you get all of the information if you are logged in, and you just sign in with your Google, absolutely free. And then you scroll down and it has digital citizenship lessons for all grade levels. So I'm going to click on this and you can see that it goes kinder through 12th. They have 6 different lessons at each grade level, except I think K1 and 2 has 4, maybe 3. But I'm just going to go for 3rd grade because for consistency, that's what I've chosen all along. And you'll see that it has the 6 different lesson plans that go along with each of the 6 different topics. So I'm just going to choose this first one for media balance and well-being so that you can get an idea of what they have. It gives you an overview of the lesson, and then you choose lesson plans. And you'll see that it has, first of all, it gives you a script on exactly what you would say. It tells you how long this lesson is going to take, and then it includes the lesson slides, videos, handouts, and my favorite part about this are the family engagement activities, tips, and resources. So these can be included in school newsletters so that the students have some ideas on how they can support that learning at home. But let's take a look at the slides. Just open it. And all of their lessons are set up in the same way. So you can see it has the essential question, learning objectives for this, some vocabulary. This one has a video and then a discussion that goes along with it, and a bunch of other things. So they have the entire lesson created for you. You just have to deliver it to your students. And when I trained the teachers at our schools how to use this, I told them you could honestly leave here right now and go teach these lessons sight unseen. And one of the teachers challenged me to that, so I did it in her classroom, and it turned out fantastic. The students loved it, the teachers loved it, and in all honesty, at every level from kinder through high school, the kids have really enjoyed these things because they get to discuss topics that they wouldn't normally be discussing in their classes or with their parents or with their teachers. So great resource for teaching digital citizenship. And as long as, especially with this surge in using technology in classes, it's more important now than ever to be teaching those digital citizenship skills. And parents don't always know how to teach those things. They're a lot like us that have been self-taught in technology by learning by our own mistakes. Well, we're going to try and avoid that for our students. So this is a great resource for teaching digital citizenship. The next 2 things are interchangeable. These words are interchangeable. You may have heard them before, but they're learning menus or choice boards. And what I love about these is it gives the students the opportunity to determine how they want to demonstrate their learning. So the first link goes to Shake Up Learning and has it's just a short little article about choice boards. They also have some templates. So this is an example of a choice board that she created. This one, the students had to choose one in the blue, one in the yellow, and everybody had to do the one in the middle. But you can do these in any way that you want. You'll see that this has a written one, a drawing one, making a video, and a 1-paragraph summary. So you decide how you want them to demonstrate their learning, the topics that you want them to cover, and then you give them different options on how they would do that. This one gives you templates to use to create those choice boards. So you really don't have to do anything. You just click on this template and check these out. 19 of them. So they have 19 different, I think there were 19, yeah. 19 different options that you could choose from. So you click on that, use that template, and it'll download it into your Google Drive, and then you can change the choices on each one of the boards. But you can see they just have a bunch of different themes. So if it was fall, colors, there's one for math, science, social studies, music, tons of different themes to kind of go along with the choice boards that you're creating. Next topic we're going to cover is engineering and the technology that we could use to integrate into engineering. The first one is interactive graphic organizers, and we can use graphic organizers for a number of things. Obviously, we use them in ELA. They're used a lot in the science. But when I click on this, you'll see that they have tons of pre-made graphic organizers. Now, these are all PDFs, but they're fillable PDFs. So I'm just going to click on this first one. And in the middle, let's say our topic is puppies, because I think puppies are safe and they're soft and they're cute or whatever. But the students can fill in these graphic organizers and then download it and email it to you or put it in their Google Drive or anything that you do in your schools. Or if they have the ability to print, they can print them out from here too. But it's just a nice way to use a typical paper and pencil to integrate technology into your classrooms. Chambord, if you're not familiar with this, is a Google app as well. And Chambord is an interactive whiteboard. And it's going to open up. This one I did it with, the first one is a blank one. You can see that there's some different options in here. First of all, it gives you different options for black background. So you can make it squares, you can make it gray, or you could just make it blank. And then along the side, it has pen tools, so you can write on it. I'm using the stylus on my touch screen. It's a little harder with a touchpad or a mouse, but they can actually do that if they wanted to. There's your eraser tool. The sticky notes, I like these because you can, maybe you wanted to use this as an exit ticket, so you put up the Jamboard and have them put in one fact that they learned today, and then the kids put all their little facts up there. It also gives you the ability to add images. So it is basically just an interactive whiteboard that is used online. But what I like most about this is that, again, because it's a Google, you can share this. So it could be shared in your Google Classroom. It's saved. Each student could have one. There's a number of things you could do at Jamboard and then share those out and save them. Here's a couple of examples. I put a bubble map on the back of this and then just filled it in. And that one was just a blank one. So to put something on that background, you just add an image. Well, let's just say I was looking for, whoops, not my drive. I was trying to go to search. I'm going to put in puppies. I'll tell you, I always use puppies when I'm demonstrating because it's always safe. So I put in the puppy, then the puppy comes up here, and then you can add labels. You can add anything to those that you wanted, and then it automatically saves. So maybe you were doing diagrams, you could point arrows, you could put sticky notes with them, all kinds of different things with the Jamboards. Collaborative Google Slides is basically a template with links to different pages. So this one is a jigsaw group activity. So if you're working in groups and you wanted each group to do their own thing and put it all on one slideshow so it could be shared out later, I've always run into the problem that the students don't know which slide they should use, or they're covering up each other's slides. So in this case, you make hyperlinks, and when they click on it, group ones will automatically go to slide 2. So they come to slide 2, that says group 1, they put their information in there. If you're group 4, you click on it, and this could be done with individual students as well, and that one automatically takes them to group 4. So to create those links, because that's what you're trying to figure out now, I've had teachers create a master slide that they use over and over and over again. They just make a copy of it with all of the students' names. So the student, instead of it being group 1, this would say Izzy. This would say Dane, or whoever the students are in your class. And then Izzy, this would be Izzy's slide. Rather than groups, you can do it with names and then reuse this slide later. So Izzy knows that she clicks on it and it takes it right to hers. So to make those work, when you click on this and you go to insert link, oops, this one's already linked. So let me put something else on here real quick. I'm just going to put a shape on here and link that. So you click on Insert Link. This could be done with shapes, it could be done with text, it could be done with images. And normally we just copy and paste a link in there, but if you go right underneath it, it says slides in this presentation. So if I click on this, it gives me the option of going to a different slide. So I knew that maybe this one was going to go to slide 4 because that's the student that I assigned to slide 4. And now when I click on this, it takes me automatically to slide 4. So you can create these yourself with the hyperlinks, or feel free to use mine. Tinkercad is a fun place where students can create 3D objects. The picture on the right was some 6th grade students that were studying landforms, and they had drawn out the landforms. They had built it with foam pieces that they were provided with. That's what they're holding. And then these 3 students were actually done early, so we encouraged them to learn how to do Tinkercad and recreate their landform 3D on a computer. And then we happen to have a 3D printer, so I went and printed those out for those 3 students. So this is an excellent enrichment activity for those students that are ahead that you want to give some more practice to. This can be done with anything. So if you're in social studies, you could do that with, maybe you're studying Egypt and you want the kids to make a pyramid. And this might not be something that you assign to everybody, but it is definitely a good enrichment activity for students that are done ahead of time, that you don't know, they come up and they say, well, we're done, what do we do now? Well, why don't you try and create something in Tinkercad that relates to the unit that we're studying? And then Code.org, if you want to incorporate all of the computer science standards, Code.org is an excellent place to do that. We have a full training on that going on June 11th of 2020. So if you're interested in that full training, you can join us there. But it's a coding website, it's completely free. You can either do 1-hour activities, you can do an entire CS curriculum that go along with your students all year long. Tons of stuff. Check that out if you're looking for some good engineering and coding resources. And then our math section. Equatio gives you the opportunity to edit math formulas online. So I'll click on it. It is an extension. So you can see that you can create the extensions in Google Docs or some of the other Google applications. It allows you to use those math formulas, type those math formulas in, so square roots, fractions, and all those things, so they go directly into your Google Forms. That is, again, it's an extension. It loads right here. It looks like this when it is actually on here. Hour of Code Artist is a fun Code.org activity. So I was just talking about Code.org. You can see I wanted to show you this activity itself because I was going through and it talks about turning in degrees and number of pixels in a line and all of those things. But you can see how easy this is going to be for students. This is the first thing that they would see if they opened a Code.org lesson. This has, it'll read the instructions to them. It'll read the instructions again here, and then it tells them how to do the activity. So you need to make a square and then turn right. So this is the person. They just move this right over. And then you push run. And then it tells you you're not quite right, so that you have to continue doing these. So this has you turn right or turn left, and then chooses how many degrees you're going to turn and shows you the compass. So there's a lot of math involved with this, but the students don't even know that they're learning math because they're having fun creating a computer program. And this again is great for like stations because this is all self-guided. The students are able to do these on their own because it has all the instructions there, and it gives them immediate feedback too. Interactive math activities and math manipulatives. This is probably one of my favorite math sites ever. So of all of these things that I'm showing you, this is probably the one that I love the most. And it has a bunch of different activities, but what I like the most about this is this polypad. And what polypad has is interactive math manipulatives. So it has the polygons, has number tiles, number and fraction bars, the algebra tiles, and some other fun things too. What I like most about this is math teachers love using manipulatives with their students, but there's time involved in passing them out, there's time involved in collecting them, and there's a huge amount of time involved in resorting them when they get all mixed up by your students. And now with the concerns of increased sanitation and sharing those manipulatives, it may not be as convenient to use those hands-on manipulatives in the classroom. But if you can do them on the computer, it eliminates some of those risks that are involved, and the pass-out time, the collecting time, and the resorting later time. So what I love about these, you can just drag them right on here. We can see that that would have two, another two. So they just drag them on. If they're done with them, you click on it and choose erase, and then start the next one. The other nice thing about this is when you have manipulatives in the classroom, students can't take those home. And now if they have access to it online, they're able to use those wherever they are. Here's another site with math manipulatives. It has a few more that include some of those ones that you might use in the younger grades. So the cubes and the 10 frames, has some dice, geoboards, all kinds of other ones that are there too. So just a great use of manipulatives. They're a great way to teach math, that hands-on math. So just a fun way to be able to do that online. And again, incorporating technology into your classes. The next one I just happened to find, and I just thought it was a fun website because who doesn't like Legos? I mean, it's a slideshow, Google slideshow. And this, you can make a copy of it. It's a template that you can use for yourself. But if you've ever used Legos to teach mathematics, you know that the kids love it. But again, you have that pass out, pick up, Legos on the floor, Legos in your pocket. If you do it with a slideshow, they have all these different blocks available. So you can just copy and paste the individual blocks into slides to create problems. The students can manipulate blocks to solve their own problems. But I just thought that this was a really fun way to be able to use Legos without having to physically use Legos. So that was a fun slideshow. Digital Math Mats is another slide template, and this is for our K1-2. It could be used in some of the upper grades as well. But what it does, let me find a blank one, is it has the problem up here, but this can be edited. So this one is 2 + 1. This example is for a kinder classroom, but I could actually change this to 2 × 5. And then the students drag these little blocks over here. So there's 3. So that's 1 5, and then they bring the other 5 over here. And then they count them all out and they can answer their problem. So this is another thing that you could do through Google Classroom. You can assign these out to each student. You could do this on the projector and students could work through these problems together in class. Again, another great resource for your stations or small group activities where students are working on their multiplication. They can do this with the technology. And Geogebra has hundreds of interactives sorted by subject. So if you go in here, it has them for elementary, middle, and high school. It has activities for distance learning, all kinds of different stuff that go along with geometry and algebra. So tons of stuff that you could go through and look into if you're not familiar with it. It has some amazing resources. It has videos and then little activities that go along with each of the videos to demonstrate their learning. So I know that that was a ton of information. I hope that you found something in here that you find useful. The slide decks are available. They have all the links on them. This is a link to my website that also has links to these things as well. Sarah Sleesman is with the Department of Education, and I thank her for asking me to do these webinars for you. please contact me if you need help with any of this stuff, if you have questions, if you're looking for a resource that maybe wasn't involved in here or included in here, and I would be more than happy to help you with any of these things. So I thank you for your time, and I hope that you enjoyed the information that I was able to share with you.